Welcome to The Debate.
It's good to be here.
Today we are opening the pages of a universe that is defined by a very specific and frankly massive contradiction. We're looking at a reality where a man who can move planets stands shoulder to shoulder with a man whose primary superpower is, well, that he's very, very rich and very, very angry. We're talking about the DC universe. The central question we're tackling today is this. In a complex fantasy world of gods and aliens, is the non-powered human hero a vital anchor, or are they just a dangerous liability?
Material, the foreword by Paul Levitz. He talks about the secret knowledge of this world, but he also alludes to titanic clashes. So my argument today is that when the sky turns red and reality itself starts to tear, the person holding a grappling hook isn't just out of their depth. I mean, they're actively in the way.
And I see why you'd think that, looking at the surface level. You know, the explosions and the heat vision. But I take a different view. I think that secret knowledge Levitz refers to is the understanding that the human heart is the real engine of this universe. I'll be arguing that the non-powered, self-made hero, think Batman, think the Blackhawk Squadron, represents the moral center, the tactical intellect that this universe needs. I believe the text proves that human will is ultimately superior to inherent power.
And I'm going to demonstrate that you are romanticizing a very dangerous line of thinking. I'll be arguing that in a multiverse defined by crisis events and beings like the Anti-Monitor, the non-powered hero is, for all intents and purposes, obsolete. They're physically fragile and, frankly, often mentally unstable. True protection requires the kind of power held by beings like Black Adam or the Amazons.
Then let's get right into it. I want to start by establishing exactly why the self-made hero is the most effective operative in this encyclopedia. If you turn to the entry on Batman, on Bruce Wayne, we're not just looking at a vigilante. We are looking at the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. The text explicitly says that after his parents' murder, he mastered every fighting style and every scientific discipline. This isn't a gift. It was forged.
But is training enough? That's the real question.
Well, the record shows it is. Look at his track record. The entry mentions his victory over the HyperClan. These were white Martians, beings with power levels basically equal to Superman. Strength, speed, heat vision, all of it. They showed up pretending to be heroes, and they took out the Justice League's heavy hitters almost immediately. Batman was the only one left.
Because he hid in the shadows.
Because he observed. He deduced their weakness to fire. He defeated them not by outpunching them, but by outthinking them. He operates alongside gods in the JLA, and he often leads them. See, the absence of power, it necessitates a perfection of the mind that these gods often lack because they've never had to really try. When you can fly, you don't need to learn parkour. Batman has to be perfect just to survive, and that makes him sharper than anyone.
I think perfection is a strong word, but go on.
It's not just Batman. Look at the entry for Blue Beetle, specifically Ted Kord. Here you have an industrialist with no superpowers. His entry says he uses a flying bug and a BB gun, a non-lethal weapon, to hold his own. He's not using a magic scarab, he's using wit and tech. He proves that human ingenuity is a superpower. So my whole point is this. The absence of inherent power forces a strategic evolution that makes the human hero the most dangerous person in the room.
I'm sorry, but I don't buy that. Let me tell you why. You're talking about winning a street fight or outsmarting a marshal in one specific scenario. I'm talking about the survival of existence itself. If you look at the alternate Earths entry, we get a glimpse of the true scale of the DC universe. It describes the Anti-Monitor, a being who annihilated all except 5 universes.
The crisis on Infinite Earths? Right.
Exactly. 5 universes left. Out of infinity. The Anti-Monitor unleashed a wave of antimatter that just erased existence. That's the baseline threat. So a human martial artist, no matter how many styles he's mastered, can he stop a wave of antimatter? No. It's vanity to think he could.
But humans were pivotal in that crisis.
As pawns, or as casualties. And it's not just the Anti-Monitor. Look at the entry for Brainiac, specifically the Brainiac 13 upgrade. This is a being with a 12th level intellect who upgraded an entire city. For context, I mean, the entire human race combined is probably a level 1 intellect.
But humans have beaten Brainiac.
Usually with the help of a Kryptonian. My point is, when you're fighting for the survival of 52 parallel universes, bringing a Batarang to a cosmic war isn't heroism. It's negligence. The text notes that destroying New Earth would destroy the whole multiverse. Do we really want the guardian of that trigger to be a guy who can be taken out by a stray bullet if his armor wears thin?
You're conflating durability with effectiveness. But let's dig into that fragility, because that's the core of it, isn't it? You think the human mind is too weak?
I do, and I have the evidence. Let's talk about the fragility of the human mind under pressure. We need to discuss the entry for Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley.
A tragic figure, certainly.
More than tragic, he's a cautionary tale. When Bruce Wayne's back was broken by Bane, another example of human fragility, by the way, Azrael took the mantle of the Bat. He was supposed to be the replacement, but the text says the system, a kind of hypnotic programming, drove him to violent madness.
He was brainwashed by a religious order, the Order of St. Dumas.
Which proves my point. Humans are programmable. They're susceptible to trauma and hypnosis in a way that higher beings often aren't. He couldn't handle it. His human mind broke. And look at Anarchy, Lonnie Machin, a child prodigy who tried to overthrow governments based on a philosophy he cooked up when he was 12. Human intellect is volatile.
And you think gods are stable?
Well, compare this to the Amazons. The Amazons entry describes a society created for equality, justice, and peace that has maintained a stable culture for 3,000 years. 3,000 years of continuity. That is the kind of stability required to protect a planet, not the erratic psychology of a billionaire processing childhood grief.
I see why you think that, but let me offer a different perspective. You argue that power equals stability, but the text shows us the exact opposite. Power corrupts far more absolutely than human frailty ever could. Look at the entry for Black Adam.
He's a complicated figure.
He's a man with the power of 6 gods, the powers of Shu, Heru, Aman, and what does the text say? His power drove him to become a tyrant. He joined the secret society of supervillains. This is a being with the stability of a god, and he's a monster. Human fragility is self-correcting. Cosmic arrogance isn't.
He's defending his people. It's efficient.
It's tyranny. And consider Amazo, the android. The entry states he has the absorption cells to duplicate the powers of the entire JLA. He's arguably the most powerful being on Earth. And yet, he has no moral compass. He served his creator blindly. Power without the human element is just a weapon.
Amazo is a machine. That's different.
Is it? You're arguing for raw power. Amazo has the most power, but without the human software, the conscience, he's useless. And about Azrael, you left out the end of that story.
That he died?
That Batman returned? Bruce Wayne, despite the broken back, healed himself and defeated the Mad Azrael. He reclaimed the mantle. That right there proves that human will can conquer human failure. The human hero falls, yes, but they get back up. That's a resilience the gods in this universe rarely show when they're truly beaten.
That's a compelling narrative, sure. But let's talk about the tools they use to get back up. You mentioned Blue Beetle and Batman. They rely entirely on technology. This brings me to my second point. Technology is a crutch, and it's a crutch that can be kicked away.
Technology is adaptation. It's evolution.
It's vulnerability. Look at Arion, Lord of Atlantis. He's a homo magi. The text says he lived for 500,000 years. His power is inherent. It's biological. No machine lasts that long. I mean, batteries die, circuits fry.
And yet humans constantly bridge that gap. Look at Booster Gold.
The disgraced athlete?
The man who saved the multiverse. The entry for Booster Gold describes him as a disgraced athlete with no powers. He stole a Legion flight ring and a force field belt. He used technology to stand with the Justice League. That isn't a crutch, that is ingenuity.
It's theft, mostly. And it highlights my point. He's nothing without the stolen goods.
It's using the tools available. Look at the vehicles section. The Batmobile has a bulletproof ceramic composite exterior and satellite uplinks. The Blue Beetle's bug has magnetic impulse beams. These things let humans possess firepower comparable to Meta's. When Batwoman, Kate Kane, stepped in during Infinite Crisis, she didn't have powers. She had high-tech gadgetry and military training, and she filled the void.
Until the technology turns against you. You're completely ignoring the entry for the Blight.
The Legion villains?
Yes.
A techno-organic race that enslaved the legion of superheroes. They travel through technology. Relying on tech makes you vulnerable to tech-based viruses. If you're Aquaman, who survived the Obsidian Age as a water wraith, you endure because your power is part of your biology. You can't hack Aquaman's lungs. You can hack the Blue Beetle's ship.
You can dehydrate Aquaman, though. Every hero has a weakness.
But consider Bizarro, an imperfect duplicate of Superman. He's not smart, but he has invulnerability that no gadget can replicate. If Batman loses his utility belt, he's a man in a costume. If Bizarro is naked, he is still a weapon of mass destruction.
In a universe of titanic clashes, durability matters. You can't adapt your way out of a punch from Doomsday.
I'm not convinced, because that assumes the only way to win is to absorb the punch. The human hero doesn't take the punch, they make sure the punch is never thrown.
And that brings me to mortality itself, which is the long game here. You spoke about the Amazons living for 3,000 years. That continuity is essential. Human heroes have a terrible survival rate.
And to argue that stagnation is not strength.
Let's look at the Black Hawk Squadron,
An iconic team.
a band of air aces from World War II. They were heroes, but the entry says the current whereabouts of Prohaska and the other members of the team is not known. They disappeared. They faded away. Or Black Canary Eye, Dinah Drake Lance. She didn't die fighting a god. The text says she died of radiation-induced cancer.
A tragic reality of the time.
But it highlights the flaw. Humans are biological clocks ticking down to zero. They are temporary solutions. If you're relying on the Blackhawks to guard the universe, eventually they get old. They die of cancer. The Amazons are still there. Arion is still there.
And that is exactly why humans are stronger. Because they know they're temporary, they build legacies that outlast them. The Amazons hide on an island for 3 millennia doing the same thing. They don't change. But look at the Black Canary entry again. The mantle passed to her daughter, Dinah Laurel Lance.
A genetic heir.
But look at the evolution. The daughter added a canary cry, a metagene, to her mother's training. The human foundation allowed for an evolution of power. The mother was a fighter. The daughter is a powerhouse.
That's one example.
It's the defining characteristic of the human heroes. Look at Batman and the references to Robin. You have Dick Grayson, who becomes Nightwing, Jason Todd, Tim Drake. This Batman family ensures that even if one falls, the symbol remains. Bruce Wayne built a system that survives his own mortality.
A system of putting children in the line of fire?
A system of succession. The author's introduction even states that despite all the crises and reboots, the mythology that links literally thousands of comics endures. And why? Because of the relationships. The human characters are the glue. We care about this universe because we see it through human eyes.
Look, stories are nice. Survival is better. At the end of the day, when I look at the entry for the alternate Earths and see a graveyard of realities, I don't see how a Batman family stops the monitors.
They stop them by uniting the gods. Batman is a founder of the JLA for a reason. He directs the power.
Or he slows them down. I will summarize by saying that while human courage is admirable, this encyclopedia makes it clear the universe is governed by cosmic forces. In the face of Brainiac or the Anti-Monitor, reliance on the self-made man is just vanity. We need the Bizarros, the Amazons, the heavy hitters. We need the walls of reality to hold, and human hands just aren't strong enough to brace them. When the crisis comes, you don't want a detective, you want a deity.
And I will summarize by saying that the presence of gods makes the human hero more essential, not less. Characters like Batman and Blue Beetle provide the perspective and ingenuity that grounded gods like Superman lack. They are the secret knowledge, the human heart inside the fantasy. Without them, the gods are just physics. With them, they are heroes. The human hero proves that you don't need to be a god to save the world. You just need to be brave enough to stand next to one.
That is a lovely sentiment. But I'll still keep my eye on the Anti-Monitor, just in case.
And that tension, that friction between the street-level vigilante and the cosmic defender is precisely what makes this source material so compelling. It appears we've reached the limit of our time, but certainly not the limit of this universe.
Indeed. Whether you trust in the Batarang or the Heat Vision, there is always more to explore.
Thank you for listening to The Debate.